What is good? We are here for the very first time on the new FFD Fantasy channel. So this is going to be the redraft, your home for everything redraft. We're going to get some best ball content in here as well. Me and the big dog Chev be over here yapping about redraft fantasy football. So this is our first inaugural show. We're going to have live shows and we're going to have plenty of content for your pleasure from now throughout the end of the season. Everything you need. Chev, how you doing?
You know me, brother. Any day on this side of the dirt's a good one.
That's right. That's right. We got some new dirt over here. So we're going to hit you with a little fresh dirt, baby. We got some pivotal draft decisions, make or break your year, sort of an ADP review, all encompassing first show here. So we've got some FFD ADP. We'll continue to update that. Right now we're going to jump in here and go through the first couple of rounds and just look at some areas where you have to make some decisions, players that you like, players that you don't like right now at current value. You good, Chev?
Beautiful. Super excited to hate on some players and get all the old guys in the comments. Guess what? We're over here in the comments now.
New comments.
I'm omni-commenting.
That's right. That's right. Let's jump to like the 109 area in the first round, because I think first 6-7 picks, you can dice it all up, but they're relatively the same. I think where it starts to get interesting for me is, do you want to take, and we're talking one quarterback, no tight end premium, standard issue redraft league, right?
Just standard missionary redraft.
Exactly. So this is where you got guys like Malik Neighbors, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, Genty. And really, at this point, our ADP currently not reflecting it, but Christian McCaffrey, in a lot of drafts that I've been in recently, has been up in this mix for the 110 through 112. So I think we should bring him into this conversation as well, right? Correct. What's your general lean here when you get to this area? Is it position specific? Is it player specific? Is it, let's see what the board gives me? How you playing this kind of little turn, if you will, right here?
Well, I'm going to give the most political answer humanly possible and say, whatever falls to me right here. For example, the Christian, if I'm at the 109 and I have, so first and foremost, let me say that 109 this year, I will not be selecting Amon-Ra St. Brown, the 109, no matter what. Never, not even if there's a fire. So that leaves me with Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, and Ashton Genty and Brian Thomas Jr. So a 5-pack basically. And I lean towards my strongest inkling is to just click the button on either Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey.
Same.
If I'm going, the problem is if I click the button on Christian McCaffrey, I have to pick way more running backs down the line than I feel like I would if I had Derrick Henry or even Ashton Genty here. So, he's an anchor. He's a league winner. It's basically he's going to be between RB2 and RB5 if he plays all the games, or he's just not going to play. Those are our options. So my strongest lean, honestly, is either Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey here. And if it's full PPR, it's always Christian McCaffrey. If it's half PPR, it's probably going to be Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So I would have to say I'm in the same ish camp. I've come around to Christian McCaffrey first round of redraft, and it's just, hey, we're going to take the swing. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We can come back a little later and grab like a Garendo a little later. But to me, I think the hype is growing for Christian McCaffrey again. We're climbing back up into that first round, and if it hits, it hits. Right now they're going into the season already down a couple pieces. Debo's not there. Ayuk's going to miss some more time. Ricky Pearsall's on the pup right now, so Juwan Jennings needs a contract. So Christian McCaffrey should, at least for the start of this season, be a big part of the engine. Now, I do think San Fran should work in some of the other backs, but they haven't been doing that. If it's full point PPR, like you said, I think Christian McCaffrey is the swing I'm willing to take there. I'm very interested in Drake London if it's full point PPR there. If we're in the 10, 11, 12 area, I just think he's gonna draw a lot of target volume. But I will say, once I have been leaning heavier in the start of redraft mocks so far as being definitely a little bit more running back heavy off the first couple of rounds, and then kind of filling out the wide receivers. Maybe that's from the best ball drafts I've been doing, because I've just been kind of liking the way that plays out. Maybe one receiver, 2 or 3 running backs, and then a chunk of 3 or 4 more receivers. So that's kind of how I've been seeing that. I haven't been loving clicking the button on Nico right now, and it's no slight on Nico. St. Brown, if Neighbors hangs around till 9 or 10, I think there could be a significant volume there once again. But I'm definitely the most comfortable clicking, or the most interested in clicking, Henry or McCaffrey there. And then kind of as that turn kind of goes through, it would kind of be the Drake London, and I think Achane is right there as well. So like I'd go CMC Achane and not have a problem with that.
Yeah. That's exactly. So I guess spoiler, because that's where I want to go. That's where I want to go next.
Sure.
Is to talk that same range. Well, the range that our ADP has it right now, and that's with going 2-2 to 2-4 right now. Currently, it's Drake London, Brock Bowers, and Devon Achane. That cluster right there at the beginning of the second round. And I guess I'll pose a question to you and ask you. You're on the clock here at the 2-2, right? Are you just, is it auto select Drake London if you just took Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey? Like,
for me, I like I said, I don't mind starting Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey if that was a possibility, or if I take one and the other one goes next. I'm definitely looking at Drake London, and I don't mind taking Achane. Just PPR running backs when the running backs are hitting, and over time, historically, when running backs are doing their things, they typically score the most points in the league, right? And that's kind of what I'm looking for out of those guys. It's 1 year. We're dynasty guys and brained a decent amount around here, but I feel like the impact of those pass catching running backs, such as Achane, such as Christian McCaffrey, as long as the offense is continuing to be decent, and we even saw, the Dolphins struggle and Achane still be all right, but we've all seen the stats of Tua being, when he's in there, Achane being a top 5 fantasy asset, right? So it's between Drake London and Achane pretty much on that second pick for me, coming through that little area right there. We got Brock Bowers in the mix here at like 203. That's a no for me. I'm just not going to do it. If I really wanted one, I'd go Trey McBride. Really, what I'm probably looking for is like, and we'll probably get to it at some point, but I'm looking at it like a Kittle a little later. If I want to get a tight end early, that could be some decent volume. And just like we talked about the Niners with CMC, and that they're devoid of early targets right now, Kittle could be in line just for, always really good, but never the crazy volume. There could be a little bit more volume piled on top of what George Kittle typically does as a top 3 tight end finish, right?
I mean, the legitimate question you're asking yourself is, what does it look like for fantasy if George Kittle gets 130 targets?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you gave him Travis Kelce's volume from 2024, what does that look like for George Kittle? Well, I mean, the last time that happened, George Kittle went for 1,300 yards and he only scored 5 touchdowns. Well, he scored 14 in the last 2 seasons and 11. So he scored 25 touchdowns over the last 3 seasons. So we're looking at a guy who could very well break fantasy in the manner in which, we haven't seen quite some time, exceeding the 15.8 points a game he was at last year. He could be around 17, 18, giving you like wide receiver 1 on a points per game basis production at the tight end position 2 rounds later.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take one of the studs that we're talking about right now, and then you can go get Kittle later. But this isn't about Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
You hit Brock Bowers. We're in lockstep. I can't click the button on Brock Bowers just because you can get a discount version of him and Trey McBride a little bit later, and it's discounted, not a discount version. Let me correct that. And then,
hey, real quick, if you're not in the free Discord channel, what are you doing? Come mock it up, because the F ain't for fuck it up.
Achane. So Achane to me just represents that's the guy for me. If I'm picking who the RB, like 10 times out of 10, who the RB1 is going to be, 7 of those times, I think it's going to be Bijan Robinson. If you ask me, out of those other 3, I think Achane could be the RB1 overall if Tua stays healthy, ifs and nuts, candy and butts. But I just think Achane has the best shot at finishing as the overall RB1 in this range out of all these guys.
Yeah, in this range. So that's I'm with you there. That's kind of what I like about him as well. So we're pretty much on par there. Let's keep it rolling. Let's move on to let's kind of jump into round 3 there. We got some interesting players in round 3. You know, Bucky's right on the cusp. He's at 212. You got Jonathan Taylor at 3-1. You got Garrett Wilson at 302. And then here comes Chase Brown. Here comes Breece Hall at 305. Here comes T. Higgins. And then you kind of have that Marv Harrison, Tyreek Hill area at the 308, 309. So a lot of interesting decisions to be made through this third round of which direction you kind of want to go in. Where do you want to take us in this third round here, Chev?
Well, this is, to me, there's so many players that we like in this range. There's so many players I personally love in this range.
Yeah. Same.
Between Chase Brown, Breece, like Chase Brown and Breece Hall, those are the ones that stick out to me immediately. No disrespect to Bucky. Bucky feels like we're selecting him at what I think could be his ceiling at RB9. I don't see how he's going to. I don't know how he's going to hold up if you're talking about him playing 65% of the snaps. He played about 45% of the snaps last year in totality. And then once he handled the 30, however many touches he handled against the Giants, I believe it was, and finished as the overall RB1 that week, he broke down immediately. So I feel like we're selecting Bucky at his ceiling. So that makes him a no for me, dog. Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, and Breece Hall are all very interesting. And then I came to the realization that Jonathan Taylor lost his starting guard and center in Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. So that kind of narrows it down. Chase Brown, to me, I was doing some research for the show tonight, and I did not realize this, but Chase Brown was 5th in the league amongst all running backs in routes run.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that. And he didn't see 5 targets in a game until week 9.
Right.
So till week 9, 5th in the entire league in routes run. And then obviously we all know that he was, RB5 in points per game from weeks 9 to 18 or whatever it was last year. And then Breece Hall. Breece Hall is the guy in the 3rd round that I think could finish as the overall RB1. And I know everybody is hanging on to the Aaron Glenn thing where they say that they're going to use a committee and all that stuff. But I believe that Breece is so many leagues better than Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen that he's still going to see about 70 to 75% of the snaps behind an improved offensive line. Like they invested, they're continuing to invest in the offensive line. They took Olu Fashanu and he replaced Tyron Smith. Congratulations on a Hall of Fame career, but he just wasn't the same. So that O-line should be really good. They've got Tanner Engstrand, who's off the Detroit coaching tree. And that also lends people, but it's not a one-to-one fit. And I think that what we see here is, Breece Hall have the most running room that he's ever had in his career in a functional system that's not being just watered down and diluted and ruined by Nathaniel Hackett or one of his flunkies. And so Breece Hall to me is kind of the guy that him and Chase Brown. If I'm going safe, I feel like Chase Brown's volume is going to be safe. Absolutely. Just 100% lock it in. But Breece is the home run swing because we have so many questions about him, right?
Right.
There's no certainty of situation, and he's in a contract year. So we don't know if they're just going to just ride him into the dirt or just put him in a 3-way part of a 3-headed monster and make it terrible for fantasy. But I'm willing to make that bet on Breece Hall.
All right. I'm going to go back for a second. Why do we have trust in Achane's ability to stay upright and not Bucky Irving's?
Achane played 17 games last year.
Yeah, but I mean he didn't the year before.
I've seen Achane do it. I have questions. I just don't. That to me is a question. Assuming that he's going to take 65 to 70% of the snaps. If that is going to be the case, I don't know how he holds up. We know that Achane is going to command anywhere between 80 to 100 targets. Those are going to be spaced out. The system isn't something that is going to pound him between the tackles a bunch. Even though he did have inside the 5 touches, I still think that he's a much safer bet to me because I saw it. We had that question going into last year. He even got a concussion, still played 17 games, 87 targets, whatever, led the position in receptions. That's not going to change, especially with Jonnu Smith out of town. So for me, Bucky Irving doing more traditional running back stuff, they said, hey, we're going to make sure we're going to get Bucky 100 targets. Then yes, that kind of alleviates some of the concern that I have. And like I said, I think that that's the ceiling. Like if you said, hey, give me your list of who you think the top 10 running backs are, Bucky could finish somewhere around 9 or 10, but I'm not going to make that bet that he ascends from 9 to 5 or 4. It's possible, but I don't want to make that bet.
I guess I don't really care about drafting at the ceiling if it's redraft. I'm just like, I would give me Bucky Irving over Josh Jacobs,
Interesting. I'm not there at all.
It's close, but I think I would take Bucky over Josh Jacobs. I mean, I think some regressions coming for Josh Jacobs as far as just touches. I think Bucky Irving will stay in some sort of a timeshare, but probably, Achane I think was at like 49% of the snaps last year. I think Bucky will probably be, like you said, probably closer to like the 60%. I think Rachaad White is still having a role there, but I think Bucky's is and will be a very productive running back. And I guess I look at those guys the same, like the alleviation of just anybody being under this quote unquote size threshold. And I know that's not really what you're talking about, but in general, for me, like what the overall consensus is, like we can for me, put it to bed. It's dead. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me anymore. Like, I don't care about like your threshold of this number or whatever. Like we've just seen it enough times. Some of the best backs in the league are these sub numbers. So I'm good. I'm just going to take him, and it's redraft. And if he doesn't hold up, he doesn't hold up. It's a one season deal here. So and we're trying to elevate and hit home runs. And I think Bucky can give you RB1 production most weeks, because I think there'll be plenty of passes going to Bucky as well. I think it's going to be a good offense that stays. Losing 2 coordinators in a row though is something different, right? You lose one, and then you go to Liam Cohen, and now losing the second one, we'll see how that pans out for this Bucs offense. But you do have a lot of the same safeguards in place as a lot of the players and a lot of the system around him. So it will be interesting, but I feel good about Bucky. Chase Brown, I'm with you. Breece Hall, I'm with you. How do we feel about taking Tyreek Hill and Marv Harrison at the 308, 309? And obviously Rashee Rice is here if Jason's showing the graphic, but that will change. Obviously, we've lost a square right now in the 3rd round for Rashee Rice currently,
Rashee
right?
Rice
So,
is assuming the suspension, sure. And to go back to your point about Bucky, they did promote from within, and Josh Grizzard was in charge of their third down packages and play calling, and they were first in the league in 3rd down. So I think we might have at least staved off the bad hire, right? Mm-hmm. Like it might not be as good as it was last year, but it could still be really good. And that's not to say that I'm not going to click the button on Bucky Irving. I prefer Chase Brown and Breece Hall to him.
That's so I can understand that for the most part.
That's just my personal thing, and people are probably going to yell about that because I've been somewhat of a Bucky hater because I was a Rachaad White guy. But it has nothing to do with that. Bucky's really good. That's the point in all this. He's a 3rd round pick for a reason. I'm just clicking the button elsewhere. So with Tyreek Hill and Marvin Harrison, I think I'm probably clicking the button on Tyreek.
Yeah, for me, it's the same kind of thing as we talked about CMC. I talked about it with Bucky. It wasn't great. Dynasty, I don't want anything to do with him, but it's redraft. It's 308. He comes back and just puts together somewhere in between that season 2 seasons ago and last season. Obviously, last season stunk, but I'm just saying if we can just find something in between there, he's probably going to pay dividends at that 3rd round pick.
If we're 80 for 1,307 or whatever he is, and you get that in the 3rd round, you're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah.
If you're splitting the difference between 2024 and 2023, where he was 1,700 yards and last year was 900. So that's the number that we're talking about. If you just split that, and he's, 90 receptions for 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns, you're probably going to be really happy with Tyreek Hill in 2025.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the thing that we're both thinking, and I'll let you speak for yourself, but with Marv, it's hard for me to create a path based on what I saw them do with him. This is not an indictment on the talent of Marvin Harrison Jr. It's an indictment on his usage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is like, I can't create a path to 140 targets anymore. That's all those dump offs are going to Trey McBride. They're not doing easy button stuff with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
And that is like, okay, go outside, go win outside, just on like out breaking routes and stops and, back shoulder fades. He can do all that stuff, but that's not what Kyler Murray has been phenomenal at. Mm-hmm. That's what he did with DeAndre Hopkins quite a bit, but like, they haven't developed that rapport. That could happen. But if I'm betting on something, I'm betting on Tyreek Hill going back to somewhere between the 2023 where he was 4th in first read target share and last year in 2024 where he was 38th in first read target share. I would bet that number goes back closer to 4, right? So that makes Tyreek Hill a much safer bet right here for me, with a better ceiling that we know about, a damn near unlimited ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Slightly concerned about the ecosystem in Miami, obviously. But we need to have something happen and take place, or it's all going to come crashing down. So you're kind of betting on that. It will at least, get semi back to average on that. And so I'm willing to take that swing with Marv. I think, all those things you said, I don't necessarily disagree with. I think, they'll change, evolve, get better together. For Dynasty, I'm all in on Marv. For redraft here, I'm probably just going to do something else because it's a 1-year bet, and I'm more so swinging for the fences on a lot of these picks, or taking safety, which I think Marv is somewhere in between there. And I don't want to click that button right this minute on Marv. I'd rather just, find some other options down around him, or like you said, the Tyreek Hills of the world. Even like if a Kyren Williams, who's a few spots above them, fell down, I might click the Kyren button over the Marv for this particular currently right now. Like, I think Marv's going to be great. I wasn't clicking the button last year in the first or second round when Marv was going there. I thought that was a bit crazy. And I still think we haven't gotten enough of a discount for a 1-year season for Marv right now. And look, he could be the league MVP. He could be awesome. I just, right now, I don't feel as comfortable clicking the button on a 1-year situation, where long-term, I think he's going to be, a really, really, really good receiver in return value, because he's going 3rd-ish round in Dynasty. So, I like that value. This value is not my favorite.
Yeah, man. If we're stretching the payout to, from 1 year to 3 years, I think we profit. But this year, it just doesn't feel like the move to make that bet on Marv, unless you're just, one of the biggest Marv stands, which we're both big fans of Marv. But it's just if we're trying to win, you have to put your assessment of the talent aside, and like, we got to go with bankable volume here. And that's what Tyreek Hill is to me.
Yeah. And see, like, I'd really, really prefer to click the Terry McLaurin button rather than click the Marv Harrison button, right? Just a veteran, and maybe there's a little step back and a slight regression on touchdowns or whatever, but maybe there's an increase in some even more volume, or some increase in some other spots that could offset a little bit of that. But are we worried about Terry right now, currently, in the climate of what we're seeing with Terry wanting a deal? Is it keeping you from clicking a button?
In this range, I haven't been clicking the button on Terry McLaurin. Like, I would love a little bit more clarity of what's going on. If we're going to have him, if he's just going to hold out until week 1, or he's going to show up at the end of training camp, you get the whole whatever. Like, hey, I'm going to miss as many days as possible, and then y'all just take that out of the next deal, whatever that is, plus the elevated injury risk that comes with missing all that time. Like, we saw Josh Jacobs just basically suck in his last contract year when he held out for a long time. And so
also was on the Raiders.
Also was on the Raiders, but you go from RB1 to whatever he was in points per game and after the holdout that year. And it concerns me a bit. So yeah, in that range, I guess we're here now, right?
How would you like it if we paid your 2025 league entry fee? All you have to do is submit proof of a 5-star review from Spotify and or iTunes, click the link, and fill out the entry form. Multiple entries allowed. Commandeer your friend's phone to quadruple your chances to win. Every losing entry rolls over to the next month's contest, all for your pleasure.
You're asking me to choose between Terry McLaurin and Davante Adams, and I'm going to choose Davante Adams every single time.
Every time?
Every time.
All right. I'm not as worried. There's no way if the Commanders go into the season without figuring out what Terry McLaurin's doing, like that's just the dumbest thing of all time. I don't know what you're doing. You got to figure something out. And so I just think that this gets resolved pretty quickly. So you would rather have the number one rather than like the number 1A or B week in, week out. Or vice versa, rather. You'd rather have like the potential.
I'd rather have the 1B. I'd rather have the 1B. We've seen that McVay offense produce fantasy points from his wide receiver room year over year over year. And this is probably the most talented Robin to a Batman that we've had, since Cooper Kupp was in his prime. So I feel really good about Davante Adams, and I feel like the target ceiling, because they're going to pass the ball so much. I mean, they do run the ball quite a bit, under Sean McVay, but they still find a way to get about 33 to 35 attempts in a game. So I'm good with Davante Adams. I still think he's going to be locked for a similar target ceiling to what Terry McLaurin got last year. I believe that was 117 targets. Like, I could pencil in Davante Adams for similar volume, and I don't have the questions, and I know he's going to be there as long as he's healthy.
All right, fair enough. We can maybe do a Terry versus Davante down the road here. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
All right. We got in this range, we're kind of we pivoted into the fours here. We've got Terry McLaurin and Davante Adams kind of coming in there. Then we have Kenneth Walker coming in at RB14, 402. And then some guys like James Cook at 406 is an interesting button to click. Omarion Hampton. We talked about George Kittle. We got DK Metcalf, Chuba Hubbard, DJ Moore. So there's a fun cluster kind of down here at the bottom. And we'll exclude Kenny Walker from this conversation, maybe, unless you really feel some type of way. I don't mind clicking Kenny. That does seem maybe a hair early, but then when we're looking at the rest of these running backs, I say, not too bad. And we can get Sharbs pretty late. And I don't know how some people feel about drafting handcuffs or whatever. But in this particular situation, I like the run game that's about to go down there. And I think both of those guys can score RB1 points in said run game. So I don't mind just being like, hey, I've now locked up and potential RB1 any week that one of those guys isn't around. Right. And you could, there's a whole bunch of different ways to skin that cat and say, I want other people's handcuffs. I want to circumnavigate this other ways. But for me, they're far enough apart in ADP that I could get both. And I feel pretty strong. I like the Seattle run game and what's about to happen with it. I think Sam Darnold, coming from that Niners with the Kubiak combination here, going to be comfortable in it. I think he's going to be able to operate on play action to have them not have everything in the box all the time. And I think both of those guys, Sharbs and Kenny, are capable of giving you RB1 to RB2 points week in, week out. I don't mind that, especially because I can back it up. I know we said we weren't going to talk about Kenny, but it's hard for us to skip out on Kenny.
Hey, 3 Sticks deserves love, man, because he's dispelled so many rumors. And the only thing that we have to do now is for him to make his best ability availability. He's got all the other abilities.
Correct.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Yeah. I think if he had been available throughout the whole last year, he'd probably be a round and a half higher. Right. I mean, he was scoring big boy points.
Big boy points.
And catching balls. Imagine that. So there's a million guys on this list. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of guys up to the season in a bunch of capacities. So if we're skipping guys that you want us to talk about, relax. We'll come back, subscribe. We'll be here. Well, let's go to this James Cook, Hampton, Kittle, Metcalf, Hubbard, Moore range. That's 4.6 through 4.11. What's your vibe right there? What buttons are you pressing? I kind of like this cluster a good bit. I'd say James Cook is the easy one for me to avoid. Hampton's been getting more and more intriguing as this Harris saga unfolds. We talked about Kittle. I love I'm either shooting for extreme crazy upside or just a ton of target percentage. I think DK Metcalf's going to come away with a lot of that. So he's been a button click a lot for me. Chuba, same thing. Going to be volume. DJ Moore, I'm going to say I don't love it at 411. So I'd say the two bookends in Cook and Moore, I'm probably the most out on that. Meat in between, though. How you dissecting that, Chev?
So that's a crazy segue. That meat in between.
You need a pause.
So I've got 3 avoids in this one right here. So it just kind of it makes it a lot easier for me. So James Cook, I'm out. So I mean, he was well over his expected fantasy points per game last year. On top of that, we've got this uncertainty with him not reporting to camp, and then how good Ray Davis was last year. We just did an episode on the Dynasty channel talking about second-year running backs, and we both espoused our love for Ray Davis and what he represented. And then the one time he did get the workload, it was really good. Like really good. It wasn't like Alexander Madison good, you know. It was like, oh, this guy's a professional. Like this is a real NFL running back behind James Cook. It's not just a guy that we're going to give touches to. So with that being said, I'm out on James Cook. Omarion Hampton, now with the fireworks injury to Najee, I'm much more interested than I was. I'm much more interested than I was. And I mean, we have the historical hit rate stuff with first round running backs, and then they go to a Greg Roman system. There's just so much to love there. And now with Najee, making a trip to Bikini Bottom and coming back with an eye patch, we got a little bit more short-term clarity on what it could mean for Omarion Hampton. If we're gonna give, and I'm way more bullish on Omarion Hampton than you are. We've been over this. You're Caleb. You're
very bullish on Omarion. I just happen to like Caleb Johnson as well.
Yeah, I'm Team Omarion. That's
we don't need to have teams. We're not flying flags. I like both.
Yeah, dude. This is fucking Twilight fantasy football. You're whatever. You're a vampire and I'm a werewolf or whatever, however that shit goes. Anyway, yeah, I'm back in on Omarion Hampton.
Trying to say I don't have any dog in me. What's going on?
And then George Kittle, we basically did the segment on George Kittle 15 or 20 minutes ago when we were talking about Brock Bowers. So I feel good about clicking that button if I'm going to go early tight end, just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Easiest bet outside of the top 24 picks to finish as the tight end 1 is George Kittle. Full stop, no equivocations. Easiest bet for me. And I'm a heart of wood on DK Metcalf. I don't like Arthur Smith's receivers. I don't like the pace of play with Aaron Rodgers. I just don't. I wish to high heaven that there was somebody else calling the plays. Maybe not Matt Canada, but almost anybody else other than Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Almost anybody else. So
I don't have as much PTSD on Arthur Smith as you do. I know you're a Titans guy. It really doesn't have to do much with his play calling. It has to do with that. What number is Aaron Rodgers wearing? Is he wearing 12 there?
No, he's wearing. I think he's gonna wear 8.
Okay, well, 8 over there. I think it's just gonna throw the shit out of the ball to the ball to DK Metcalf, an absolute outrageous amount, like Devontae Adams amount in New York when he got there and settled in. So that's really all I care about. Like I don't care about anything else. I think that who else is he throwing it to? Like that's the way I'm looking at a ginormous target percentage for DK Metcalf, and he's going to throw it to him in the end zone a million times. I think that offense is going to move just fine. Defense is still good. I look at this area as, if you want to take the tight end early, you got your shot in Kittle. You could take that shot, or you're kind of probably waiting for Laporta or better, or like an Ingram or better, or Kraft or better a little later. So you kind of have a dealer's choice here. You could take a running back, a tight end, or a receiver, right? You could go with the tight end that we just talked about. You can go with the running back with a ginormous swing that could win you the league as far as Omarion Hampton. You could go with a little bit of a safer running back and Chuba Hubbard of saying, hey, this guy's going to get the volume. We think it's ascending offense. He was good last year, gave you 15 points a game. Maybe we could even see something higher than that. Or you can go DK Metcalf and get yourself a volume-heavy receiver. So I like this spot a lot. You kind of have a dealer's choice of kind of which way your draft's going and how you want to build out from here. can kind of pivot in some different ways. So, all right, let's go to the fifth and final round here and wrap this first episode up. We had mentioned Laporta earlier. He's at the 508. We have who else we got? We got Tet McMillan coming in here, Cortland Sutton, Travis Hunter. How are you feeling about this kind of fifth round bunch, right? I know you love Jameson Williams at the 502. We got Harvey at the 503. We got Devonta Smith at the 504. Sutton, McMillan, Joe Mixon, Laporta, James Conner, 509. Travis Hunter, 510. Next show we're going to talk about Pickens. So we're going to leave Pickens off this list here, even though I know you like him a lot. So where you want to head here for this last and final round in this first episode of kind of dissecting round by round early ADP, make or break your year.
So this fifth round right here, this trifecta of receivers, Devonta Smith, Cortland Sutton, and Tet McMillan. Tetaroa. I refuse to call him Tet McMillan anymore because said don't call him Tet.
I'm gonna start calling him Roa.
Yeah, just call him Big Ro, Big Millie Mac.
I'm not calling him T Mac. You can get out of here with that.
So yeah, you don't get. Yeah, there's only one T Mac. All right, he's cockeyed. He's retired from basketball. He's in the Hall of Fame. You have to pick another name. So anyway, This is the one part of the episode where I was looking. I was like, man, I hope he doesn't ask me about what to do here, because I don't have a strong lean, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. So Sutton's the safest bet easily.
Right. I think so too.
Locked for 135 to 140 targets. We could even see that role grow, because after the 0 target game, I believe that was week 6 against the Saints last year. After that 0 target game, he was nails. I think he was around like 17 points a game from that point forward. And so I only expect Bo Nix to improve. And I don't think that Evan Ingram is going to decrease his target share or force his target share to be decreased. I think that there's a role for him to have what he's going to have. And then Cortland Sutton to still eat on the end zone targets, on the deep end breakers. May just chews up yardage in the middle of the field, and he's a red zone weapon. So, and then with Tet, Bama Bryce Tet, I think this could be one of the keys to generational wealth. If you hit this pick and it hits the way that I think that it could, immediately Tet goes into top 10, probably if that connection with Bryce is real, and then they're just gonna pepper him with targets. Dave Canales being the former, Pete Carroll being his mentor, and Pete Carroll's son being on the staff at Arizona with Tet McMillan and kind of feeding Dave Canales information about him. Canales being a former wide receivers coach. I think that all these narratives come into play here, and this could get us off to a way faster start. And there's just a vacuum of targets to be had there. Like, do you think Adam Thielen's a big dog? It's a great bet that you can make in the last round of your draft. Mm-hmm. But they took him 8th overall for a reason, and he has the highest target ceiling of any rookie, full stop, no equivocations. And then I haven't even talked about Devonta Smith, who was 15 points a game, but he has the lowest ceiling and potential floor. Like, the bad weeks are going to be awful. So the talent says, hey, he could give you a random 100-yard, 2-touchdown game out of nowhere during championship week and boof you into the upside down.
Yeah. We're getting also another coordinator change over there. We saw how that kind of went the last time. Then they brought Kellen in. They sorted some things out. Devonta Smith hasn't been a common button press for me there. I like Jameson Williams. I like RJ Harvey here as a nice little upside play with some PPR for Harvey, because we know them Peyton backs are the floor is built into 70-ish targets going over to Harvey's way probably year one. And I know there's some J.K. Dobbins talk at this point, and it's like I'm sure J.K. is going to get some run because they'll work a second back in without any problem. I still think there's going to be plenty for RJ to go and eat in the passing game as well as grinding between the tackles. But I think you're right. Cortland Sutton is somebody that I look for in this area. I think super comfortable drafting him. I feel like I'm very, very secure. He's a security blanket there. And then Tet McMillan, certainly if Sutton's gone and Jamo's gone and Harvey's gone, and we're down to those guys, the Laportas and the Hunters and the Mixons, I don't mind taking a swing on Tetairoa McMillan. I want a rookie or two that I don't have to pay a lot for on my roster, because those guys we've seen pay dividends. Which one is going to be, I don't know. I don't want to spend it on the super high end rookie in the first or second round, but I think, and not to say that I wouldn't draft Genty, but it's a bit of a different animal. But like a lot of the times that like I mentioned, Marv was way too pressed up last year in redraft, right? There was no reason to be doing that. So I think this is a good price for a rookie, that all those things that you said could lead to a nice target share. And that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point and really throughout. I'm probably not drafting Laporta here. And I'm also just not clicking the button on Travis Hunter here. I just, Correct. All the other guys around him play offense 100% of the time. I need to see more things transpire from a franchise that hasn't been great at making things go better and go the right way. And, it's been very sporadic here and there, very random. And now we've got a whole new regime in there, which I have some faith in. I like them. I want to see it one time first. And in a redraft situation, it could smash and be awesome, and I could look like an idiot. But I'm just, at this point, there's some other guys floating around here that, look, James Conner or Mixon's going to probably give you production if they're healthy. George Pickens is below him. Tetairoa McMillan's above him. Like I feel safer with a lot of picks around that rather than taking Travis to wrap this discussion up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, just to put you on the spot here, Travis Hunter or Xavier Worthy?
Xavier Worthy.
Yeah. Like, that's just, you could probably have similar upside.
And you're going to get a couple of games of suspension seemingly from Rashi as well to get even a little bit more rapport. I think the deep shots are going to come back with Kansas City. I think the scoring is going to tick up for Kansas City. So I'm way more bullish on the Kansas City offense than I think a lot of people are. So, yeah. You got anything else?
No. This is where we are.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. We're going to get plenty of live mocks. We're going to do there's going to be rankings. There's going to be all sorts of good stuff going down on the FFD Fantasy channel here. Got a lot of redraft talk for your pleasure coming your way. This is just a start. So make sure you subscribe, 5-star review if you're listening on the podcast. We will be doing some best ball drafts live on here as well. Again, make sure you're locked and loaded. If you're not in the free Discord, hop in the free Discord. If you want more stuff from the FFD, a lot more Dynasty driven on the Patreon side of things right now, but we're going to be kind of growing in all facets. But you can learn a lot of stuff from redraft from Dynasty, right? I think it's the next step, but it's also, I think you can learn a lot of practices from Dynasty through the redraft lens there, and vice versa a little bit. So both things are good to have in your repertoire there. So.
Yeah, this is the gateway. This is the gateway fantasy channel.
Yeah. So come on over, check the Dynasty channel out if you're new to this. Whenever you're ready. We're not gonna make you do anything you don't want to do. So we appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time. Peace.